school cheer and competitive cheerleading, and I was a coach of school cheer and competitive cheerleading. And this just shows like this is school cheer, that's competitive cheer, just to get a look of the difference. I asked you to open your mind to the idea of it because I bet we have all felt strongly about something before, even when others may have told us it didn't matter or that it remained irrelevant. Like I said before, I was a cheerleader for 14 years, so this is something that like I've dealt with the whole time. So play the video. Maybe.
On the right side.
Let the whole earth witness. It's about to go orange, citric. Golden love, now we got 'em. No boys, no problem. We're gonna rock the floor and turn the whole world orange. We've only just begun. We've only just begun. We've only just begun. Right way for the orange rose. Love blue green, that is the question. Love blue green, here is the lesson. If you love me, then thank you. If you hate me, then crush you. Break out your iPad and check Google Maps. Hey Siri, why can't we find the world champ?
Orange rays can be found in the ATL. I know you're still crushing.
Take the world over. Gonna get you crushing one more time like an orange soda.
Green in the summertime, orange in the spring. Now it's OC for life, man. But it's your stain. We are the orange rays from our head to our tails. We gonna take it all the way to the cold. Niggas are good, no leave. And I gotta let them know this is our dying Stingray, all stars, killing love. You watch your kick, rush, one time. She's orange on top of the world, cause that's just how we do. Used to say the sky's a limit, but now sky's our point of view.
Okay. So that was just like a video to show you a little bit of what I did for most of my life, and I'll explain most of it throughout this presentation, but that's just something to show you kind of what competitive cheerleading was. And so between the two different types of cheerleading, there are two types, even though they may share the same name of the sport, but I know you're probably thinking they probably are the same, right? But, well, you might want to think that again. Now, don't get me wrong, some school cheer teams do compete against other school cheer teams, just in basic competitions, you know, high school states and stuff like that. However, though, school cheer mainly really is for Friday nights and basketball games and pep rallies and stuff like that. You don't really compete. That's not your main point. It is still called cheerleading, even though it may look basically like a spirit squad. And there are major differences between school cheerleading and competition cheerleading. School cheerleading holds a varsity and a JV team, and maybe, like I said, they do compete in a competition here or there just against other schools. They don't really go to competitive competitions. competition cheerleading holds levels 1 through 5. I was level 5 when I was a cheerleader. That's the highest level. Competition cheerleading also has an international level, which is like you don't. Usually cheerleading ends at 18, but in international you can be any age in cheer. There's both all-girl and co-ed divisions. So, and they range from small, medium, and large divisions. And there's also an international level 6, which is the collegiate level, but they still have a level 1 competition cheerleading. It's a college style, so they can do trickier stuff, higher stunts, stuff like that. And each level and division is different, containing different difficulties and skills. With level 5 being the highest, it requires the hardest skill to be acquired. For example, that was the video. The video was an example for what you saw. With harder skills comes more injuries though. So according to the USSA, the United States Sports Academy, cheerleading is ranked number 1 in catastrophic injuries, and some of these injuries include head injuries such as concussions, cervical spine problems, facial injuries, knee, wrist, ankle, and shoulder injuries. And I can also verify this information because I've had 6 out of the 7 most common injuries I just listed, and they're not fun. And according to coastalorthoteam.com, the most common injury is concussions. This also can correlate with football and other high-impact sports having that be one of the most common injuries, mostly because we get hit a lot from stunts or we get fallen on or hit in the face, so that's where a lot of injuries can come from. And most injuries inside school cheerleading are because of maybe improper technique or teaching or unexperienced athletes or coaches, because it's not mandatory for you to have a certain skill to be on a certain level in high school cheerleading. It's kind of just like they kind of just make the decision that you injuries in competition cheerleading are mostly from harder skill being thrown or just freak accidents. By freak accidents, I mean a flyer could fall on top of you or on top of the base. They could land wrong and tumbling. We also don't have any practice here. So we don't wear any pads, we don't have mouth guards. It's literally just you. You're throwing people 20 feet in the air, you're flipping your body's 7 feet in the air. So anything can happen. You can land wrong, you can get hit, and it'll cause many types of injuries. Some injuries may even come from exhaustion. With such intense practice schedules, it can be easy for athletes to become exhausted easily. For an example, when I was a cheerleader, my practice schedule ranged from 20 to 40 hours a week, depending on what competition we were going into. If it was national or worlds, sometimes it'd be like a full-time job. Around NCAA and worlds, these schedules are more intense on a normal weekly basis, but they do become even more intense around competitions like NCAA Dallas, which is the largest national competition competed, and this is the stage. The one right here. This is the arena around, and that's the stage. So it's kind of sitting in the bowl, which is right here. So it's top and bottom. So that fills the entire arena of Dallas, the biggest arena in Dallas. And then, or we compete at Worlds, which holds 72 countries competing. And now some of you may still think it's not a sport, but this is actually my team while we were competing at Worlds, and I'm right there. And then this is the arena for Worlds. And if any of you have ever been to ESPN in Florida, that's where Worlds is. It's in the ESPN arena. So, now some of you might still disagree with me. You may still disagree that cheerleading might not be a sport, or competition cheerleading might not be a sport. But it was declared a sport by the International Olympic Committee on December 7th, 2016. And the USA will be sending a team to compete against other countries in the 2020 Olympics. And this may be from a biased opinion that you don't believe me, or from some other reasons. But in conclusion, I consider this to be a sport. It is intense in strength and conditioning. Our schedules are crazy. We can get scholarships to college. You can go to just like any other sport. You compete in national and international competitions. You can travel the world for these competitions. Some people go overseas to compete and teach. Or you can do it all the way through college, and then you can do it after college and coach too. And we still don't want practice gear. So if you're still disagreeing with me, just rethink that opinion, because you may actually find out that